Welcome back to Project Good Enough. In previous episodes, we went ahead and took care of the steering, the brakes, parking brake, shifter, and then in the last episode, I went ahead and shortened the frame on this chassis a little bit just to make it a little more maneuverable. So now we're gonna need to get on to the exhaust. All right, in the last episode, I went ahead and discussed what I was gonna do for the exhaust. If you don't know, I picked up some side pipes here that are just a universal side pipe kit for any type of hot rods, Corvettes, that type of thing. And I picked this up on Facebook Marketplace and I got a pretty good deal on it. Came with the mufflers, the tips, and the guards as well that cover them. Got a discounted price on it because it was missing some of the components, which I really didn't need anyway. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use these as dual stacks behind the cab. And then these headers I picked up at a local automotive swap meet a couple of weeks ago. These things are brand new for a big block Chevy, and I only paid 125 bucks, I think, or 120 bucks for them. So I got these. I was just going to use the original manifolds, but I decided, well, these were cheap enough, so we might as well go ahead and use them. All right, and then as far as making everything else work, I'm basically just going to fabricate all this stuff by hand. I've got some header collectors here that I bought, and I actually got some of these flex joints as well because I am going to be mounting these stacks on the back of the cab. And I just got some miscellaneous clamps. And then I picked up some of these bushings here. These are actually exhaust stack bushings for a Peterbilt because I'm gonna have to make my own brackets. Now, the loose plan right now is to go ahead and get these stacks mounted somewhere up in here, just about like that, probably on either side of the window. Now, this truck is gonna get a flatbed on it, and the flatbed's gonna be somewhere right in here. I'm really not sure yet. So I want this guard to be just right above the flatbed, essentially. Now, to mount these stacks onto the cab, I'm gonna have to go ahead and make some brackets that bolt onto the cab just below the belt line right here, and then probably down here at the bottom, and then I'll do something else where it goes underneath the frame. Now, I can't mount anything up here because there is an inner panel inside of here, inside the truck, and I don't want to cut that thing out or drill holes in or anything like that, and I can't get behind it. If it's mounted here and mounted down here towards the bottom, it should be plenty strong enough, it'll be just fine. And to complete this job, I also picked up one of these 3-inch kits off of Amazon here, and this pretty much has everything I need. So that whole kit right there was only like 110 bucks. So I really couldn't pass it up. It's pretty affordable. All right, I think I got everything I need to do this today. This should be a pretty fun project. I can't wait to see what it looks like when it's all done. So I guess you could say today is gonna be exhausting. Task number 1 is gonna be getting these exhaust manifolds off, but unfortunately, this is gonna be a little bit of a struggle because some genius decided to put the engine underneath the cab. Well, we got one out. That was fun. Would someone please explain to GM that these are not main bolts and they don't need to torque them to 300 foot-pounds? And no wonder they leaked. There's no gaskets on it either. These were just right to the block. Now I'm gonna mock up one of these headers. I really hope they fit. It looks like they will, but we'll find out in a second. I took the spark plugs out because I needed some extra room. I don't know what these headers are for, actually, because I picked them up at the swap meet, so I'll just put 2 of the stock bolts in for right now. One on the back, one on the front. That's up against the head there. What's it hitting here? Looks like it's hitting the motor mount a little bit. It's really close to the oil filter, too. Definitely hitting the motor mount, so I'll have to grind the motor mount a little bit. Not a big deal. Got plenty of room around the frame. Pretty darn close to this oil filter. I wish it wasn't so close to that. I don't have a gasket in here. I like to test for fitment without a gasket. I got that ground. Let's see. Well, that's on the oil filter, so that's not good. Let me check underneath here. So a little bit more grinding there, and then I'm gonna have to figure out this collector here. So back off again. Thankfully, these flanges are super thick. They're really nice. All right, do it again. Oh, it's actually denting the oil filter this time. Oh, for goodness sake, seriously? We're almost there. It's just barely touching it. But this is a concern, though. I don't like this at all. I really need to see about bending this header. I'm gonna put a couple more bolts in and see if I can bend it. All right, we're gonna do this again. I messed with this thing for a little bit longer. I had to grind the motor mount just a little bit more, and then I took the oil filter off, get it out of the way. If I try to bend this header, I just want to make sure that it is fully seated up against the block before I even try to tweak it. Motor mount's clear, and it is up against the block. All right, I'm sitting here thinking how to bend that header, and I do have a porta power, and I can use that, and I think it'll work out. I'm gonna pull that passenger manifold off and get the header bolted up to that side. Make sure that side's gonna work as well. I could be wasting my time here, so. I think I already see one problem here. So maybe my $120 headers are gonna end up costing me more money, but we'll see. You guys probably have guessed it by now. Ooh, she's tight over here. Okay. Well, it's kind of what I expected. Looks like it's hitting the heat shield on the starter. All right, let me deal with that. I think I'll be okay everywhere else, it looks like. All right, that out of the way. Let's see if that gave me some more room. Well, looks like it's still hitting the starter. Let me get some bolts in here. Of course, now I'm thinking maybe I should just put the manifolds back on it and be done with it. I just don't want it to turn into a can of worms, you know? Everything turns into a can of worms. And okay, so it is definitely hitting the starter. I mean, it's not bad. It's good on the transmission, it's good on the frame and the motor mount. So it looks like just the tube needs a little wacky. So I'm gonna mark that. So it's right here on this end, right here. Can't have anything nice. It looks like it needs to go more. I didn't hit it exactly perfect. All right, guys, I saved you the brutality. I got it to fit now. It's pretty darn close to the starter. So I'll either look into putting a mini starter on this thing. I see them all the time at the swap meet. So if I can pick up a used one, I'll throw one in it. I'll figure that out later. Otherwise, I'm okay. Clearance and everything everywhere else looks just fine. So I think they're gonna work out all right. All right, I got this header bolted up. So don't judge me. Oh, man. It's always something. I'm just gonna try to give this thing. Oh yeah, that's better. That's a lot better. It's bending it. That worked. That gave me quite a bit of clearance. I'm much happier with that. Oh, you fucker, I broke the starter. Oh yeah, she's done. Stupid. All right. I slipped and I hit the starter solenoid and it put all the force on the solenoid and it broke the solenoid off. Looks like I'm buying a starter anyway. All right, so I got it to open up, but then, I don't know, you probably can't see it, but down below it slipped and it freaking broke it off. My $120 headers are gonna cost me another couple $100. All right, let's move on from this debacle and go over to the driver's side and see what we can break. All right, now this driver's side has definitely gotta be bent out because this thing is really close to where the oil filter comes down. And even with one of those little tiny short ones on there, I still don't know if it'll clear. All right, guys, I got the porta power out and I got the old jaws of life here. And I'm gonna try to put this between the header and the block and see if I can make it work. That might work better right there. Let's see. All right, I got some tension on it. I think everything's out of the way. Let's see what happens here. This is the stuff I hate, you know. This should be a fairly straightforward job doing this exhaust, and then you get into stuff like this and it can end up just taking hours and hours to fit everything. You know, and I just don't know what these things are for. I really don't want to run one of those little tiny short oil filters on this thing. I'd rather not, you know, so if I can just create a little more space, I guess. I don't know. Let's give it a shot, see what it does. It's definitely bending it. Okay, let me reposition it. Let's see if I can get a lower bite on it here. I know this probably seems completely ridiculous and I understand it. Whew. The last thing I want to do is break the block, you know, or something stupid like that. Let's see here. I really need to heat these things, but my bottles are out of gas. It's enough to make you pucker. I mean, it is working, but not like I want it to. All right, guys, I'm just sitting here trying to figure out what I want to do. Do I want to just put the stock manifolds back on it and be done with it? Or do I want to continue to mess with these headers? This is the stuff, like I said earlier, it just slows everything down. I should have just left the damn thing alone. I didn't think I was going to have an oil filter clearance issue with this thing. I have a standard length oil filter here for the Maverick, and I just kind of held it up in there, and it's completely cocked over. I couldn't even get it up in there square. The only option is, like I said, one of those little shorty ones, or I could do a remote oil filter or something, you know, but then there's more money, you know, so. And I don't care about having headers, honestly, I truly don't. All right, I'm gonna do a couple things here. That's probably not a good idea. I'm gonna cut the bottom of these ports right along the bottom side of this thing. And then what that'll enable me to do is to kick all these tubes. I'll just be able to kick them underneath a little bit and then weld them back together again. I'm already this deep into the dang thing, I might as well just use them. I don't care about the coating. I could care less about it. You're not gonna see the engine anyway. Ooh, that's some cringe factor. It is what it is. All right, so I just realized that I should have cut the top, not the bottom, because now my gap's gonna be bigger on the bottom. I think maybe I should just go in for the day. Boy, it's not my day. I should not have cut the bottom of them, because now my gap's gonna be wider because I need to pull the header away. I'm committed now. Okay, well, that is working. Now I have a giant gap at the bottom. That pretty much fixed it. Let me see if the, I mean, this filter doesn't screw on there, but yeah, now I've got room. The struggle is real today, let me tell you. All right, I'm not proud of it, okay? But I did it. I'm not even gonna show you, I'm so disgusted by it. All right, I'll give you a little shot there. The inside's all ported up and cleaned up, so we should be fine. There, that's back on. Yeah, it looks good. Flange looks fine. I don't think it affected the flange. Nice thing about those super thick flanges. Okay, let's see. That's right where the hole is, so yeah, we should be fine. All right, that looks good. We got clearance. What a cluster. Now I need to go ahead and mount the stacks. I want to get those mounted first, but I have to make a bunch of brackets for that. So what I'm gonna do here, try to square this up as best I can. I'm gonna bend this around. Like so. Now I want to bend a little 90 in this. I gotta find my hammer. I don't know where my damn hammer is. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Oh, right in front of me. Okay. Now, I'm gonna come back over here, I'm gonna clamp this. I really wish I had a piece of 2 3/4 tubing or something, but this stuff's pretty malleable. Of course, that would help if I'd bend that straight. Now, that's essentially what I'm doing, is I'm making a clamp that goes around here, and then I will bolt these two together. But I'm trying to make it to where it'll kind of spring together. Okay, there, that's nice and tight. All right, so that's one down. So basically that's what I'm trying to achieve. Now I could take a measurement of this one and figure out exactly how long to make it, and then I'll bend these first, and then I'll bend it around the pipe. Because this one's not very straight. This one's a little crude, but it'll work. So I need to make 3 more of these now. All right, so it's the next day, and I just spent a little bit of time cutting a whole bunch of flat strap and then trying to figure out the layout, how I want to do this. So let me show you what we're doing. This is 2-inch wide, 1/8-inch plate. All right, so this is one of the plates that is going to support the exhaust stack itself. Now these bushings will go on here like this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to radius this side here, and then this will get welded to this clamp, and then this will clamp around the muffler. And then this bracket here that gets bolted to the cab, this will get welded on here like this, and then this will go over the top of that and support that. So if any of that makes any sense at all, it's just going to be easier to just kind of do it and show you guys. A couple of these went a little cattywampus, so hopefully I'll be okay. Yeah, looks like I'm all right. All right, I'm just gonna do a test here. It's a little tight. Nice and tight, but it does fit. So I was just trying to determine whether or not I wanted to radius these as well, or if I was going to be able to get away with doing it just flat. And I'm trying to keep these tucked in as tight as I can to the muffler itself, to the stack. I think what I'm going to do is I am going to put a little radius in these. I'm going to go ahead and just do this, knock this stuff out real quick. All right, I've pretty much got all this done. I've got these all cut. These are going to weld to the cab mount. So here's the cab mount. These will go in here. Whoops, the other way. Then I got to go get some bolts. I don't have long enough bolts, but that'll get bolted on like that. And then that's offset, sticking out. So then this cab mount bracket will go right here. That'll get welded on, and then the muffler will get welded to that. So essentially that's how it'll be mounted up. Pretty simple. Yeah, it should work pretty good. Pretty labor intensive doing all this, of course. Okay, guys. I can't believe how long it's taken me to make all these brackets. It's so ridiculous. I think I'm ready to finally start mocking this thing up. First thing I'm gonna do is figure out my placement on the cab and get the holes drilled in the cab and get these mounted up first. All right, one thing I was messing with here was trying to figure out a reference line, because I kind of need to know where I'm at level-wise as far as side to side. And then one thing I don't know yet is how it's gonna look as far as from a side view of the cab, leaning forward and backward. I may have to modify some brackets a little bit later, but we'll find out later. I just wanna get these mounted, and then we'll play with that as we go along. So what I did was I just took a level and I put my level down this seam right here, because this is pretty straight. This is the straightest part of the cab anyway. And I just ran that all the way up, and then I made a mark, and then I just took some tape, and then obviously, as you see, I ran the tape up just to give me a reference line. And then we can start marking this stuff out and drilling holes. All right, now I'll just make a mark on the cab. It's all right, Sharpie washes off, don't freak out. Take some tape here. Stick it down there. Okay, that should be close. Now the brackets down here are pretty easy. I'll do these first. All right, 2 inches right there. I think what I'll do is I'll put a reference line on here, and I'll go over and do the other side. I'll make a line right here. Okay, yeah, they're even on both sides, so that looks good. Got those installed. Looks pretty good. For right now, I just have regular nuts, and then I have just some smaller washers. I'd like to get some bigger fender washers in here. All right, now I can put a clamp on the pipe here. All right, get that clamp on. I'll just leave it loose or snug to where I can just barely move it. All right, now the hard part is just gonna be kind of figuring out this placement. I think I'll just get it as close as I can, get it in the center, tack it up. All right, well, I definitely smell that rubber. So I did melt it a little bit. I just don't want to melt the bushing. Hoping these bushings hold up. I mean, these are 4 exhaust stack for a Peterbilt. I don't know, I'm hoping they won't melt, but we'll find out. If they melt, then I'll just put a solid bushing in there. All right, so as I was tack welding those on, there's one thing I thought about that I did not account for. So when I made the radius on these brackets, I forgot about the extra thickness of this clamp. So I'm gonna have to take a grinder and just open these up just a little bit so that seats around there real nice. Now I'm trying to lay out the back of this cab. It's actually really difficult. It's a lot harder than I thought it was gonna be. For today, I'm just gonna walk away from it. I need to take a break from it and I'll get back at it tomorrow. I can't hold the dang thing up there and eyeball it by myself and stand back and look at it to see where it needs to be. So it's kind of a headache. So that's why I was trying to run the tape up there and try to get it to where I could get my measurements right. All right, so I was thinking about how I wanted to try to level these things out this morning and how I wanted to go about it. And the tape on the back of the truck and all that's just not working. I can't get it to where it visually looks right. So I went ahead and I leveled out the truck side to side and I put all my brackets together here and I got all the clamps on where I basically need them to be. I'm just gonna go ahead and tack weld all this stuff on here and then I'll tack weld the lower ones and then I'll hold it up to the cab and then I'll kind of stand back and visually see where it needs to be and then get it all in place that way. It should hold it. It seems like it's staying there all right. So I just put a level on the pipes on both of them, and then I just put some tape. It wanted to be pulled to the passenger side, so I put this one on first to kind of pull it that way. So I just got the pipe stabilized with the tape. Now I gotta do the driver's side. This one wants to be the same thing. All I want to do is just get these even and stabilized. And then I can go ahead and mark all these holes. And then take it all back off and drill them out. Okay, that's level there. So they're both level, so now I'm gonna stand back and see what my eye tells me. All right, just standing back here behind the truck, it looks pretty good. Probably not gonna show up very well. The light changing back here is probably bad for the camera. All right, I'm just gonna take some measurements and see where I'm really at. This looks like 39.5. Well, that's 39.5. Yeah, it looks like 39.5. That looks even. All right, so according to the tape measure, they're at least square with each other all the way up. All right, now I just want to visually look at these brackets, make sure that they look level, even with each other, which they do. Mark these out. This one's going to be a little harder because of this big old dent. I think we're in pretty good shape. That's gonna look all right. And then the tips are gonna go on there. I'm not sure how high I want these yet. Right now, I can't go up any higher with these because this tapers out because the pipe slides inside of it. But what I could do is on the lower pipe down here, I could take this and shift it up above to raise them up even higher if I wanted. But let's just do it like this for now and then we'll see how it looks. Just gonna put a couple bolts in here temporarily. I'm hoping these brackets all work and hold up, but I guess we'll find out. I have no idea what it's gonna do sound-wise and everything transferring through. When I build the flatbed, if I have to, I'll build like a small headache rack. I don't wanna build a full one that goes all the way up, just a partial one maybe. And if I have to do that, I'll just redo it to where I mount these onto that. But for now, we'll try it like this and see. I'm hoping the bushings will take some of that out of it, but I guess we'll see. All right, I got her bolted up. Looks like it's slightly forward following the cab a little bit, but then I don't know level-wise with the truck. It looks even on the truck anyway. I think we're just gonna run them the way it is right now. We'll see how it is later if we need to change it, but let me put a level on it again and just make sure that we're at least in the same ballpark. Yeah, we're okay there. And then this one here too, looks good on this side too, so we should be fine. Now I just got to work on getting this stuff welded up and figure that out. I just want to get these done so they're completely finished and off the books, and then other than paint. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to take this apart and I'm going to have to bend this down a little bit just to even it out. Right now there's a little bit of force on it. So yeah, I'm going to mess with this stuff for a little bit, get these things figured out and get them sorted, and then get it welded up. All right, upper ones are done. Whew, all right, what do you think? I think they're solid. And then I'll figure out the height later. Maybe we can make them taller, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Do you like the height of it or should we make them taller? I'm kind of limited because of the roof, of course, but I could, you know, like I said, I could put this lower part up above the clamp, be about, oh, I don't know, 3 inches higher or something like that. And then I got to figure out the guards. I'll figure that out later. All right, so now we can go ahead and start working on the rest of the tubing. All right, so now the challenge is to figure how to connect these things all together, of course. I don't know if I'll be able to just kind of go underneath the frame and go up. I'll look at that. That's a possibility. Originally, I was thinking I would come down back here around behind the transmission with the driver's side and then go out along the frame rail and then go up and connect it. And then same thing, passenger, come back and over underneath and then up. That's a pain in the butt. The only benefit to doing it around the back of the transmission would be if I don't like the sound of these things or if they're too loud and I want to put some mufflers on there. If I run it this way, it'll give me room to put mufflers in if I do it this way. Obviously this way would be the easiest. I've got that whole box of new tubing and I'm just gonna try to figure out a layout here how I want to do this. All right, here's my loose plan. So I've got the stack down there sticking down, it's way too long. So the passenger side will get a 45 and I'll shorten it so it lifts it up closer to the transmission pan. That'll come over this way. This one here I'll have to cut off way short and then I'll take another 45 and a 90, and then I'll cut this off to bring it way up tight to the converter, you know, a couple inches away. So then this one will come over and that one will go straight across and I'll be able to connect with that, another 90 to go up and connect with that other stack. So this isn't too bad. This is one method. And then I don't know about going around the transmission. I'm gonna look at that a little bit more. All right, it's getting late in the day. It's Sunday and the wife said I'm not allowed to work all day. So we'll get on this tomorrow. All right, I did some more thinking last night and I did some more thinking this morning on this deal. So I did a little bit of layout on this thing to try to figure out the placement and how I want to run it. And one of the things that I needed to figure out was how I was going to run it around the fuel tanks. So spoiler alert, I guess I'll go ahead and show you what I'm going to do for the fuel system. I'm going to run dual saddle tanks on this thing. These are off of a Isuzu NPR truck, and I ended up getting 2 of them. There's a local shop here in town I picked them up from. I got these things for dirt cheap. So these things are 33 gallons each. So what I'm gonna end up doing is, those are the fuel lines right there. And on the passenger side tank, I'm gonna go ahead and modify the top of the tank to receive the stock motorhome or just a Chevy truck sending unit in it. So then that'll be kind of a plug and play, drop-in deal. I won't have to worry about it. These tanks are rated for side impact as well. They should be fine. They're a little too big for what I need for this truck, but I think it's gonna give me great capacity, and it does give the truck a good look. I really like the look of it. All right, so with the exhaust placement, I was messing around with this last night, is I was worried about the tank placement and how the exhaust was gonna come through, because I was thinking about running it underneath the frame rail and then over and around. And I think I'm basically gonna do that. I'll be able to come off with that stack right there with a 45 and come down and come under and go across. So it's gonna be a little bit of a mess of tubing underneath the truck right here. I'm just trying to get my clearances all right around the tanks and everything to make sure that I know I'm gonna be okay. All right, now this 45. Okay, obviously this is way wrong. I'm gonna have to cut this off and this off. I'm gonna have to bring this way up. Let's see how that looks, other than crooked as hell. Oh, there's a reason this isn't Wally's exhaust channel. All right, not a big deal. Now this thing actually curves down quite a bit, so it's actually pointing down a little further than I want, so I'm gonna have to manipulate this pipe a little bit. When I weld this together, I'm gonna have to lift it up. See, that's too low, still too low. I'm gonna take a little more off of this, and I might have to grind this a little bit more. All right, I think I got this fit up halfway decent anyway. Good enough for this deal. Okay, that looks straight. Kind of limited because I have a cross member, so I got to make sure I'm okay on the cross member. So that should be okay right there. All right, now I can put this on. Put this back on. Okay, let's try that. All right, I'm gonna double check the tank here. Make sure we're okay on clearance. Yep, looks good. It's really close to the bracket. Like I said, I can shift the tank back a little. That's okay right there. I'd like this gap to be pretty tight, but I don't have much of a choice. All right, now I need to figure out rounding the corner here and connecting these two up. Ooh-wee. All right, guys. I've been flexing the old brain muscles on this one. Now, a lot of this thing is just kind of aesthetics for me, with the saddle tanks, having them look good. And then, of course, I want the exhaust to look good as well underneath the truck. Came up with something different. Here's what I'm doing. All right, so when I was trying to run this thing back and go behind the transmission, it was just getting way too cluttered back there. It was turning into an absolute nightmare trying to figure out all the different curves, and this pipe was angling funny. Both of the pipes were angling really strange, and anyway, I abandoned that idea. Now, one thing I knew I was wanting to try to do was to run the pipe along the frame rail, but I knew with the tank, it was going to be too tight, until I remembered when I bought these tanks, they actually had these brackets on there that I took off to bump them out away from the frame rail. So now what that enables me to do is I can just run a 90 off of there. Right now I have it going through that flex joint, but I'll probably move that. And I can just come down through here, and I can use this 180 right here, and then boom, right into the collector. Nice easy shot right into the collector. Same thing over there. That one will just come off. That one's almost connected as it is, just the way it is, mocking it up. And then same thing. So with those kicked outside the frame rail just that much, and then these brackets make up that difference, and then it's perfect. That also makes the tank come out perfectly with the edge of the step. It bumps it out just right. So now aesthetically, this is, to me, it's very pleasing. I was looking at moving the tank further back, but I really didn't want to. I kind of wanted to keep it right in that 12-inch range right in there. And then that tucks everything up, and then the step right there, it's nice and level. The tank's slightly lower than that. So that looks really good. And then the exhaust is basically right at the same height as the tank as well. I'm really happy with that. I'm glad I figured that out. Because doing it the other way was just turning into a total cluster. Just too many pipes crisscrossing everywhere behind the transmission. You have different heights. Too much. Now this way also, this will, originally I probably wasn't going to be able to run some kind of cross pipe, you know, a balancing tube. But the way this is set up, I can go right underneath the transmission and I can do a balancing tube as well. So that'll be cool. I'll just do that out of like 2.5 inch or something. I've got a whole bunch of 2.5 inch. I'll just do one out of that. So once I hook these up right in here, I can just go right up underneath the transmission pan or back here at the cross member and just do a simple little balance tube. And then I've got plenty of room on the frame. I can drill all 3 holes and bolt them all up right onto the frame perfectly. So there's 6 holes per bracket. Not that it needs it. I can just do 4 holes per bracket. That's what it was originally. That's probably what I'll do. But I can just mark those out, mag drill it, and I'm done. And then with that like that, that's actually going to look really good too. It'll look nice and clean. Everything will be tucked underneath. Now that I've got the plan, now I can focus on it and get this thing knocked out. Got this stuff tacked up, got that in there, and then that's pretty much how that's gonna end up. Got that fitted up all right. One thing I forgot about was a V-band. I need to go get my V-bands. I think what I'll do is I'll just cut this back off and I'll put it right here. It's a good spot for it. But I'm gonna put a clamp up here also, so this will clamp. Okay, that's good enough. There it goes. I'm just going to tighten this by hand. Got to be careful if you're using impact on these things. They will destroy the threads. These cheaper Chinese clamps. Okay, so that's good enough. Okay, all right, so I'm good up there, I'm good here, I'm good here. This one will slide in here, so we'll cut that there. I'll have to take this one loose again. All right, let me slide this one in there. Okay, one's good. Now hopefully all this will go together. Need some persuasion here. Oh, that's gotta go up. There we go. That looks pretty decent. And then of course I'll put a hanger over here to support this as well. Let's see where we're at here. Come on. thing is heavy. All that looks good. I'm happy with that. I could slide the tank back to even that spacing out, but I'll just leave it. Underneath down there, it looks good. Nice and parallel to the frame. And then we got a pretty good shot there. Good shot up to the manifold, or to the header. And then underneath, it looks really good. It's hanging down just a tiny, tiny bit, but that's not too bad. That's perfectly fine with me. The driver's side will hang down lower because that collector is a lot further down than the passenger. So the passenger side's gonna be tucked up a little bit more. But they should be pretty close. But that looks pretty good. And all that there looks good. Got plenty of room around the tank, no issues at all. Super happy with that. That looks so much better. It's nice and clean. I think it's pretty sanitary. I really like it. Let me get over to the other side and do that one next. All right, guys, I think we got her. Looks pretty darn good. This side was definitely a lot faster once I had it figured out. Should be pretty close to equal length. I know it's the passenger side's a little bit shorter because the header length is a little different. But it should be actually really close. All that looks good. That one's like a little crooked, but I'm not gonna worry about it. And then the tank placement, I'll play with the tank placement as far as where I want it up against here. But that's pretty close to where I want it. Same thing underneath. Clearance is pretty much just about the same as the other one. This side's a little bit higher than the driver's side, but there's not much I can really do about that. The nice thing is too, is I've got great access to the transmission. No issues with that. The pan for servicing, the drive shaft, any of that stuff I won't have any problems with. Now the fun part is I get to weld all this stuff up. I'm gonna try to weld most of it in place. All right, I'll put you back on time lapse. Let me finish this up. I got a little bit to do. I got to drop that these down pipes, one on that one too. I couldn't get in around the frame, but otherwise everything else is good to go. Good enough anyway. Leaks? What leaks? The hell you say? There ain't gonna be any leaks. Leave a comment down below. How many do you think I'll have? I don't know. Looks pretty good. There might be a few pinholes here and there. I'm gonna work on some hangers real quick. And yes, we're gonna use some old motorhome parts. Okay, so the plan here, I just wanna support this a little bit. Definitely got plenty of movement here at this flex, so that's good. This thing ain't gonna flex that much, but I just wanna support the weight of it. So I think what I'm gonna do is I've got the old clamp from the motorhome here, and then the old bushing, and one of the bushings in the brackets. And let's see, I'm trying to think if I should put it backwards or forwards. I don't think it really matters. But anyway, I'm gonna drill a hole in the frame here and bolt this up. Bolt that up to there. Then that'll support this tailpipe just a little bit. try to hold this and give it a whack. There goes the battery. Never fails. And I gotta find a bolt for this. Now I could twist this, make sure it's square. Or at least even anyway, whatever. You know what I mean? Okay. Voila, now we got a clampage. Yeah, that's gonna give it enough flex everywhere, you know. Motor's gonna flex at the joint and we should be fine. Yeah, it looks good. That'll support it. Good and plenty. Nothing like using old motorhome junk. All right, let me go do the other side. It's a good thing I edit out a lot of my frustrations. I'll admit it, man, sometimes. Whew. All right, we won't talk about it. All right, I think that's it, guys. I'm wore out. It's been a long few days doing this, rolling around on the ground. I'm not as young as I used to be. Clamps turned out really good. Happy with those. And everything else underneath. Oops, I dented my pipe when I hit it with a hammer. Oh well, shocking. There goes the flow. And I gotta figure out the guards. I haven't done the guards yet. That's gonna take a little bit of finagling. I didn't get the brackets that hold the guards on when I bought these, so I'm gonna have to make something. So at these things, I'm probably just gonna put them right below the chrome, or right above the chrome, I mean. So it's like that, is kind of what I'm thinking. The screws are way up here at the top. So yeah, I gotta figure all this out. But that kind of gives you the visual of what it'll look like. It's pretty cool. Now, as far as the flatbed goes, it's gonna be about this high. I'm gonna leave this open is what I wanna do so airflow can blow through there. And I don't know, the flatbed, I'm either just gonna go straight across. I know I was talking about having this on the flatbed, but I'm not worried about that. I don't know what I was thinking there. I don't need to worry about that. So I'm either just gonna run the flatbed straight across this way, or I was thinking about running it up closer to the cab and then notching it around, doing a notch around the exhaust. I don't know yet. I guess it depends on what I feel like when I'm doing the flatbed, so. All right, guys, let me know what you think. I think it turned out pretty good. I'm happy with it. Other than just a few little odds and ends and stuff, that takes care of it. I wish I had the wiring harness for this thing. I could fire it up and see what it sounds like, but we'll see. Hopefully it's not too loud. I am getting old, and I have no idea what it's gonna sound like on the cab. I'm hoping it'll be okay, but again, like I said, if I have to, when I do the flatbed and the headache rack, if I have to move them off the cab and put them on there, I can do that too, but we'll see how it is. I just wanna say Merry Christmas and thank you very much for the support, and stay tuned for more. Probably gonna take a break here a little bit, I think, through New Year's. I need a break, I'm wore out. I've been working on the Maverick too in the background on the side, trying to get that done, and I'm getting pretty close to firing that thing up, but I'll make a video on that later. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Merry Christmas. Have a great New Year's also. And we'll see you on the next one.